Hi, Amy Dobbs with Dobbs Hills, Utah and Windermere for Let's Talk Tuesday. Thank you for joining me and us. And I'm here with my good friend and colleague, Jason Allen, once again with Network Funding. He's had over 30 years experience, so his brain is just jam-packed with information. And he's been the recipient of the President's Club the last 3 years in a row. So let's give it up to Jason. Nice work. So today, our question is, what if I'm a first-time home buyer and I'm really feeling overwhelmed and I don't even know, where to begin the process? What do I do? Do I start talking with a lender? Do I start talking with a realtor? How do I even start? I'm feeling very overwhelmed. So Jason, what would you say to that question?
Well, there are so many options for first-time home buyers. We're talking options from 3 to 5% down payment requirement all the way to 0 down payment options. So,
did you say that? Let's say that one more time.
Yes, 3.5% all the way to 0 if needed. So lots of options. And probably one of my favorite is there's a conventional program called Home Ready. There's another one that's called Home Possible. They're identical. One is from Fannie Mae, one is from Freddie Mac. That's a whole nother video. But Fannie Mae's Home Ready is pretty great because the down payment requirement is only 3%. Oh. And conventional loan programs, you have lots of options with them as far as property type that you can buy. So the reason I like Home Ready is because if you're eligible for that, if your down payment is less than 20%, you have to pay mortgage insurance.
Right.
Okay, so let's start with that context.
Okay.
You got mortgage insurance because your down payment's 3%. And if you're buying a $450,000 house, depending on your qualifications, your monthly mortgage insurance, that's a whole separate video,
right,
is probably around $200, right?
Uh-huh.
But if you're using Home Ready, if you're a first-time home buyer and you qualify, then your monthly mortgage insurance could be as cheap as $75 to $90 a month. So a huge savings there, aside from the fact that the down payment is really small.
Right.
I like FHA. There are a whole slew of reasons that we can talk about with that one, but it has a 3.5% down payment requirement. It's a really flexible loan for income and credit. And then the cherry on top is probably the Utah Housing Program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 0 down. They have FHA underwriting guidelines that they can use, so that's going to depend on the borrower and the property type. And they actually have a conventional loan too that's 0 down.
Ooh, man, what?
Yeah. And so both of those are really flexible. They allow you to it's one of the few programs that we have in Utah, if not the program that we have in Utah, where you can finance some of the closing costs.
Oh, that's great.
Right? Because when you buy a home, there are 2 things you have to come up with. 3 if you count earnest money, but earnest money can be kind of counted later. But there are 2 things you have to come up with: the down payment, and you have to pay for closing costs.
Right.
So if you use any other program, you're coming up with down and closing. If you're using Utah Housing, you don't come up with down payment.
That sounds great.
And you only come up with a portion of the closing costs. So it's really inexpensive, very little out of pocket, and a very affordable monthly payment.
Those sound like really great options for first-time home buyers. Yeah. What are things that I should be, as the first-time home buyer, be asking or knowing? What would you say?
Man, I could talk about this for 20 minutes all by itself, right? But I think people who've never bought a home before, it's their first rodeo, they really worry about things that they shouldn't worry about. They're like, is my credit score high enough? Have I been on the job for long enough? Down payment, closing costs. If they've been, using, the internet to get information,
right,
they're all over the place with their expectation.
Right. It's true.
And so those questions really, the rubber meets the road when you're talking to a live loan officer, whether it's me or anybody else. Right. Hopefully it's me. But yeah, it's all about understanding each person's situation. And I know we want to keep this video short, but the one thing I would talk about the most that I hear a lot, and that sounds cliche, everybody says that on the internet now. I hear this from my clients all the time. But is, well, I can't buy a house because I haven't been on my job for 2 years. Well, that's only part of the equation. You only have to have a 2-year history of employment. So it can be with 3, 4, 5 different jobs in that 24-month period. So again, people really overthink it. They try to make it perfect before they talk to me or even to you, so they can get pointed in the right direction. And it really is more simple than I think what a lot of first-time homebuyers think.
Does it have to be in the same line of work, Jason?
No. And again, employment and self-employment, I have to stop myself because I don't want to get off on that. But it doesn't have to be in the same line of work. You need to be an employee. You need to be W-2'd with pay stubs. You need to have tax withholdings, the whole 9 yards. If you're 1099 or self-employed, it's a different animal, but those two are the same. A 1099 person that gets all of their employment from a specific business and they don't work anywhere else, and they just get that 1099, they feel like they're an employee.
Right.
They're self-employed if you get a 1099. Yeah. So the rules for self-employed and 1099 people are actually the same.
Got it. What is a typical timeline for purchasing a home? I hear this a ton from my clients, from first-time home buyers. And so I think, what are you seeing right now, Jason?
Well, 2022, thankfully, I think we're getting back to what I think is normal. Humble brag, we can close loans in 10 days, right? So from start to finish, if you're a conventional borrower, we can close you fast. But a lot of times, especially now in 2022, I think that if a lender and buyer and realtor and seller all have the same expectation of 30 days or less, they're all going to be really happy and have a great experience at the end. So I would say, plan on about as soon as 30 days. You could be, putting the key in your new house and moving in. But, if it needs to be sooner, it can be.
Right. So 30 days from acceptance of your offer is pretty much a normal setting. So one of the great resources that I provide for my buyers is this first-time home buyers packet that I will send you home with tons of great useful information, from terms to questions that you might have. But really, ultimately, Jason and I are here to support you, to guide you through this and give you all of the information that we have, what's going on with the current market, and what's going to be the most beneficial to you. But you, ultimately, are the captain of your home buying process, and we are just here to assist you. So if you have any questions, go ahead and comment. Go ahead and like this video and subscribe. Yeah. And thanks for taking the time to be with us on this Let's Talk Tuesday. Thanks, Jason.
Aye, Captain.
See ya.